Hey, once again, everybody, this is Southern Beer Review, John and William, coming at you again from Smith Lake. So we are moving on, like we said in our last video. We are in the middle of our first Porch series where we rate beers from a sample pack from one brewery. And again, Porch series number 1 features the Creature Comforts Brewing Company out of Athens, Georgia. We've already done the Athena Berliner Weiss, which was the tart beer that we did last time. We are moving on to beer number 2 in our first Porch series called Automatic Pale Ale. Interestingly enough, at the end of the last episode when we were doing the Berliner Weiss, the Athena, I referenced the fact that Athens is special to our friendship because of our love of REM. And them kind of introducing us to music in high school and college. The name of the beer, the Automatic Pale Ale, is in reference to, and you can't see it real well in here, but they have a restaurant sign that says "For the People." And of course, REM had an album come out in 1992 called "Automatic for the People," highlighted by "Man on the Moon," "Night Swimming," that kind of stuff. And the Automatic for the People was the famous phrase concerning Walter's Barbecue, which is a famous restaurant in Athens. And the barbecue was apparently so good that that's what the owner would say, it's automatic for the people.
Yeah.
REM used that phrase to name an album after it, and now we've come full circle. So again, this is beer number 2 in our first Porch series called Automatic Pale Ale.
And I'll just mention as I'm pouring here that pale ales were a long-time favorite style for me. Pale ales were sort of what got me into IPAs, and IPAs sort of became my favorite style there for a while. And then I've mentioned before how my taste buds changed a little bit over COVID. And you see the difference in the color again. My glass is a little bit darker than William's, so his is probably giving you a more true color, for sure that is. Nice sort of orange.
Yeah, great color, a little hazy too.
Yeah.
Nice head on it.
But pale ale's a very basic style. You don't see as many pale ales anymore as I think we used to. But it smells very citrusy.
When the craft beer craze started in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think pale ale was like a go-to style.
It was, yeah.
And then recently
we had
in the
the
last...
Sierra Nevada pale ale.
Excuse me.
Probably
Yeah,
the most
absolutely.
famous example.
And of course, in the last decade or so, IPAs have kind of taken over the craze, I guess. But I was giving it a smell while John was talking about the pale ale style, and very citra is what I'm smelling.
Get some orange in there.
Some
for
notes
sure.
of orange, maybe a hint of even even more tart than an orange would be, like a grapefruit almost.
Yeah.
A little bit of grapefruit.
It's not a with some hoppier beers you almost get a sweat socks kind of smell. I'm not getting any of that. No locker room kind of funkiness or anything like that. But it's 5.5%, and I'm excited to give it a shot.
All right, let's give it a shot. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a classic pale ale taste. First of all, is the first thing I noticed.
And it definitely get more grapefruit I get more grapefruit on the tongue, on the mouth, and on the taste than I do on the nose. Definitely, it's, very grapefruity.
I got the citra flavor, and then kind of on the back end, I got a little bitter also. Mm-hmm. It kind of as it went down.
It's got a good hop quality to it, hop
Right.
character.
But again, super popular style when the craft beer craze started. And for me, this is just kind of a simple beer. A little hoppiness, as John said. You get the grapefruit and the orange the citra taste as well.
A little bitterness. I would have appreciated a little more balance, but again, that's where my tastes go now. There's not a lot of malt presence.
Yeah, it's really easy to drink. I mean, it's an easy beer to drink. But I'm not. If I'm just being honest, I'm not getting much more than just the basic citra hops, citra flavor. But again, I'm probably picking up, by the way it tastes to me, a grapefruit more than any other type of citra.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting the grapefruit for sure. I've never heard a beer describe itself this way: radiant, modern, and pillowy. I get the radiant. It's a very that comes through. I'm not sure about the modern and the pillowy, but overall, if I picked this beer up, I'd be pleased with it.
Right. And again, I think this is when you have a beer like this, you're almost kind of going back in time as well, because before the explosion of the craft beer scene, especially in New England in the late '90s, a lot of people were drinking your standard, major national Anheuser-Busch kind of stuff, and then this stuff comes along and makes a splash, because that's a classic different taste from what we were used to 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And with all that being said, this is enjoyable to me. I'm just if I had a critique before we do the score, I'm not getting the variety of flavors, I guess, that you sometimes get in a pale ale.
It doesn't. I mean, I guess with Creature Comforts, I come to expect it really to jump out as like an exemplar of the style or something just extra special. And this just seems very, very basic to me.
And I'll use
basic can be good sometimes, but.
And I'll use an example before we rate. John mentioned this a minute ago. Sierra Nevada is a major national brewery, California, North Carolina, but their pale ale is very distinct too.
Yeah.
This is good, but it's not. I don't get the variety of flavors like you would expect in a pale ale. So you want me to go first this time?
Sure.
This is an easy beer to drink. It's got a nice smell and aroma. It's probably not a beer I would come back to a lot. But again, it's not bad. It's just kind of, if I'm being completely honest, which is what we're trying to do, this show's not all about giving everybody 7, 8s, and 9s. It's just kind of a middle of the road pale ale. So I think for that reason, I'm gonna give it a middle of the road score and just go 5 on it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and I'm gonna give it a little bit more than that, because I always try to balance a little bit for like it not being a favorite style. Or right now, my palate's not really with this style for whatever reason. It tastes a little bit too one note for me, but for some people, they might really enjoy that one note. I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay,
I'm gonna give it a 6.
Yep. So 5.5 overall.
Yep.
So in summary, guys, this was Creature Comforts Automatic Pale Ale. This is beer number 2 in our first Porch series. And again, if you decide to try the beer, get your phone out, open Spotify, open Apple Music, and pull up REM's Automatic for the People from 1992, and you'll have music to go with the beer. So we appreciate you tuning in, and we have 2 more from this Porch series that we'll bring to you soon from Creature Comforts.
Yeah, I look forward to the Bibo Pilsner and the Tropicalia IPA, both well-known and supposed to be excellent examples of their styles.
Thanks for tuning in.